Listen to me closely, because today we are taking a torch to the marketing brochures. We are cutting out the fluff, the paid sponsorships, and the internet hype to analyze 7 shotguns that have actually earned their blood money. This is not a compilation of pretty firearms designed to look good on Instagram. This is not a nostalgia trip about what your grandfather carried in the woods. This is about practical, heavy-duty hardware. We are talking about the specific tools that function when it matters most, the systems you can hand to a novice in a crisis, and the platforms a seasoned shooter will choose when failure means a body bag. You need to expect a volatile mix today. We have pump-action beasts that laugh at obscure ammunition loads, semi-automatics that swallow opaque hulls and keep feeding, and a couple of engineering oddities that solve genuine problems in tight spaces without relying on gimmicks. There are no free plugs here. There is no staged theatrics of me pointing at a barrel saying, "Look how cool this is." We are strictly dealing with honest, raw opinions on ergonomics, mechanical reliability, controllability, and exactly where each weapon fits into the violent reality of life, whether that is home defense, duty use, door breaching, or rapid follow-up shots on the flat range. Every single entry here has to pay rent. Each breakdown is going to be short, brutal, and useful. I will give you the rapid-fire specifications you need to know. I will tell you exactly how it feels against the shoulder when you pull the trigger. You will get a real-world verdict and a piece of practical advice you can use the moment you buy one. The order has been shuffled. This is not the same recycled list you might have seen on other channels. Expect opinions backed by thousands of hours on the firing line, not by a press release from a manufacturer. The Remington 870 Tactical. This is the 12-gauge pump-action workhorse that defined American law enforcement for half a century. The common tactical configurations you will see on the shelf feature a tube capacity of 4+1 rounds to 6+1 rounds, depending entirely on the magazine tube extension you choose. Barrel lengths usually run from 18 inches to 20 inches, often equipped with heat shields, ghost ring sights, or bead sights. You will typically find a heavy-duty bead or ghost ring up front for rapid indexing. This is simple, mechanical, and repairable with the most basic tools in your garage. Let's talk about the sensation on the range and the recoil management. The Remington 870 feels like a tool, not a toy. It feels like a sledgehammer. The action is robust, heavy, and positive. The recoil is honest, but it is predictable. You do not just shoot this gun, you drive it. You learn to manhandle the slide aggressively rather than fighting against the weapon. Because the Remington 870 is front-heavy due to that steel, receiver, and thick barrel. You get excellent muzzle control for recoil patterns and rapid follow-up shots once you get the mechanics dialed in. This is the weapon you hand to a trainee, and you sleep soundly at night knowing it will work. It functions with strange loads that would turn a modern semi-automatic into a single-shot club. It swallows low-pressure shells and heavy buckshot without hesitation. It tolerates mini shells and exotic breaching rounds. A battered, scarred Remington 870 will usually outperform a finicky $2,000 semi-automatic on a bad day. For duty kits, entry teams, or someone who wants a home defense solution with zero complications, it is incredibly hard to beat the field repairability of this legend. Here is your marching order. Dedicate serious time to reload drills and malfunction clearing with that pump action. You need to know the geometry of the action so you can clear a short stroke jam without panicking when your heart rate hits 180 beats per minute. Swap out the stock furniture for a high-quality recoil pad and consider a magazine tube extension only after you have mastered reloading under stress. But what happens when the mission profile changes and you need double the firepower in a package that fits inside a duffel bag? The KelTec KSG. This weapon is a polarizing beast. It features dual magazine tubes, a bullpup design, and it feeds 12-gauge shells like a vending machine for violence. The overall length comes in at approximately 30 inches depending on your barrel choice, which is absurdly compact for the firepower it brings to the fight. The tube capabilities commonly run 7+7 or 5+5 per tube, giving you a staggering amount of onboard ammunition. It utilizes a single barrel with a cartridge selector right on top to choose which tube feeds the chamber. It is a rare layout, but make no mistake, it is real, it is on the market, and it serves a very specific master. When you bring this to the shoulder, the sensation is unique. Pointing it feels surprisingly controllable for a 12 gauge because all that weight sits deep in the rear, and the bore axis is extremely low. The recoil impulse is absolutely still there. Physics is physics. However, the bullpup balance makes rapid indexing and target transitions in narrow lanes faster than you would believe possible. But I need to give you a warning. Expect completely different ergonomics. The manual of arms is not instantaneous for every shooter. This is an oddity built with a singular purpose. The KelTec KSG shines when space is the ultimate limiting factor. We are talking about vehicle work, tight hallways, or serving as a truck gun where overall length matters more than tradition. Reliability has improved significantly with the latest production runs, but the pump-style loading fed by a magazine and the unique feed geometry mean it is not as universally forgiving as a conventional pump or a proven semi-automatic. Do not buy it because it looks cool in a movie. Buy it because your mission needs compact capacity stored in the stock. Practice your tube selection and reloads until switching tubes is as natural as breathing. You must train malfunctions specifically for upward tube swaps and get a solid cheek weld on that bullpup design. Slapping a standard stock solution on top will not fix the ergonomics. You have to adapt to the weapon. The Genesis 12 variants and Taran Tactical. This is a 12-gauge shotgun fed by a box magazine that unapologetically steals its ergonomics from the AR-15 platform. You are looking at box magazines holding anywhere from 5 rounds up to 20 rounds depending on your configuration. Common barrel lengths run 16 to 18 inches. It features M-lock handguards, fully ambidextrous controls, and enough rail space to mount lights, lasers, and optics to turn night into day. The Taran Tactical variants for 3 gun competitions drive the price up and polish the internals to a mirror shine. But the core Genesis platform is about one thing: blistering speed. This shoots differently. The follow-up shots feel closer to the cadence of a battle rifle than a traditional shotgun. The recoil impulse is short and shove-like rather than the long, heavy push of a conventional semi-automatic, meaning your return to target is lightning fast if your fundamentals are solid. Because the center line and controls mimic an AR-15, the transition from rifle to shotgun is almost seamless for shooters who already live and die by the AR platform. However, do not let the chassis fool you. The muzzle flash and spread pattern still behave like a 12 gauge. The Genesis 12 changed the expectations of what a scattergun can be. For teams and shooters who value reload speed, magazine changes, and a consistent manual of arms across all platforms, this is a radical shift. It excels in dynamic drills, steel target engagements, and any scenario where fast reloads and repeatable ergonomics matter more than traditionalism. The downsides? The magazine cost is high. There is a learning curve for users unfamiliar with the AR, and it can be occasionally picky with ammunition in certain magazines. But for most modern shooters, that trade-off is worth its weight in gold. Treat your magazines like your life depends on them, because it does. Fire multiple magazines through the gun until you know exactly which brands feed reliably and with what loads. Practice your magazine changes until the movement is a reflex, and add a short course patterning session to your training. You need to know which choke or muzzle brake gives you the pattern you want at 5 to 15 yards. Finally, carry a couple of spare magazines in a soft pouch or a tactical vest. The platform is built for rapid swaps, so use that advantage. But what happens when you want speed but you refuse to rely on a box magazine? The Beretta 1301 Tactical. This is a 12-gauge semi-automatic operated by gas, featuring the proprietary blink action from Beretta. This system provides a cycling rate that is light, violent, and specifically engineered for life-saving defensive sequences. The common configurations on the market range from 5+1 rounds up to 7+1 rounds, depending on whether you are running a standard tube or an extended magazine. Barrel lengths typically sit between 14 inches and 18 inches, with threaded options available on select models. You get a top Picatinny rail for optics and M-LOK compatible handguards, meaning you can mount your white lights and vertical grips exactly where your biomechanics demand them. The controls are low profile but highly intuitive. The bolt release, the safety, and the slide release are all positioned for rapid, natural access under duress. When you take this to the firing line, the sensation is shocking. This shotgun feels surprisingly soft. The blink system tames the impulse, making follow-up shots feel almost instantaneous compared to the sluggish recoil of older semi-automatics. It does not magically eliminate recoil. Physics still applies. However, it controls the impulse and gives you a reset that is so short and fast that an experienced shooter can convert it into a wall of lead. The natural point of aim is superb. The weapon tracks the target aggressively, and the sight picture returns faster than almost any other semi-automatic in this class. If you want a semi-automatic that plays nice with rapid, practical shooting and still behaves itself when you slow down for precision work, the 1301 is the perfect balance between raw speed and predictable function. It is not the most rugged, hammer-like platform for everything like a pump action, but for defensive work and high-repetition range drills, it is one of the best compromises between feel and performance available today. Parts and accessories are abundant enough that you can configure it for duty roles, vehicle storage, or home defense without bankrupting yourself. Here is the pro tip. Tune your gas system to the specific loads you intend to use. Light birdshot for target practice and heavy defensive buckshot can change the character of the cycle. If you plan to run a suppressor or an extended muzzle brake, verify the function with that specific combination of choke and defensive load. Small changes here make a massive difference in reliability. Also, run some magazine dump drills to learn the blink timing. Your rhythm for reloading and follow-up shots needs to be built around that ultra-short reset. The Mossberg 590. This is a 12-gauge pump action built as the heavy-duty, war-ready variant of the Mossberg 500 family. Common configurations feature a tube capacity of 7+1 rounds, options for heat shields to protect your hands, ghost ring or bead sights, and blued or synthetic stocks and forends designed for absolute abuse. Barrel lengths are usually 18 inches to 20 inches on the tactical versions. The action is simple, featuring dual extractors and a manual of arms that has been proven in patrol cars and foxholes for decades. On the range, this feels like a tool that has earned its tenure. The pump travel is positive and unapologetic. You handle this weapon like you mean it. The recoil is honest, but punchy. With a good recoil pad and a proper fighting stance, you get fast, usable follow-up shots. The front heavy weight and the thick barrel do a lot to tame muzzle rise and keep your patterns tight for those rapid second shots. The Mossberg 590 is the bring-it-and-forget-it shotgun. It tolerates strange loads. It fires low-pressure, less lethal rounds, heavy buckshot, breaching rounds, and mini shells more reliably than many semi-automatics ever could. Law enforcement agencies and many military units still trust it for a reason. When the environment gets filthy, semi-automatics get finicky. The pump action keeps working for home defense, patrol work, breaching, or any role where absolute reliability outweighs flashy features. This is a primary choice for a reason. Practice rapid reloads from the side saddle or shell carrier you intend to carry. Learn to feed shells into the action without looking. Furthermore, use the weapon with the exact defensive loads you plan to rely on. Test the spread of your buckshot and slugs at 7 yards to 15 yards so you know your point of impact and spread in the real world. Finally, keep the action geometry clean. A little grit on the sliding surfaces turns a good pump shotgun into a headache of short strokes and jams. But now, we move into the top tier. What happens when you combine the speed of a semi-automatic with a gas system that cleans itself? The Remington V3 Tactical. This is the 12-gauge semi-automatic that utilizes the Remington Versaport gas system. This is not the shotgun of the past. This is American engineering striking back. The common tactical configurations range from 5+1 rounds up to 7+1 rounds, depending entirely on your magazine tube selection. You will find barrel lengths running from 14 inches to 18 inches, with threaded options available on specific models for suppressors or brakes. It features a top rail that is ready for optics right out of the box, and M-lock accessory points on the handguard. The V3 accepts a wide range of chokes and comes with synthetic stocks that are designed for hard use, not for looking pretty in a cabinet. When you handle this weapon on the firing line, the difference is immediate. The Versaport system drastically shortens the recoil impulse. It provides a smooth, crisp reset that makes rapid bursts feel manageable without the excessive muzzle rise you get from cheaper gas guns. The point of aim is natural, and the weapon tracks incredibly well for follow-up shots. It is noticeably friendlier for controlled pairs than the older semi-automatic designs that feel like a long, sluggish push against your shoulder. With heavier defensive loads, it stays composed and returns to the sight picture faster than you would expect for its weight class. Think of the V3 as the pragmatic semi-automatic. It is not the flashiest option on the wall, but it is a practical performer that bridges the gap between duty-grade reliability and competition speed. It is an excellent choice for a truck gun or an entry weapon when you want the semi-automatic pace without the temperamental nature of other designs. It tolerates a massive range of defensive loads, groups consistently with the right choke, and is easy to maintain. For the shooter who wants speed with simple maintenance and good controllability, the V3 is the honest choice. Pick 2 chokes and stick with them. Keep one for buckshot at defensive distances and another for slugs if your mission requires them. Run a patterning test at 7 yards, 10 yards, and 15 yards with your chosen defensive ammunition so you know exactly how that choke combination behaves. Furthermore, maintain the habit of field stripping the weapon after heavy use. The Versaport system is forgiving, but routine cleaning keeps the timing predictable. The Benelli M4. This is a 12-gauge semi-automatic powered by the ARGO system, or auto-regulating gas-operated system. It features dual operating rods and a self-cleaning rotating bolt design. The typical tactical configurations feature a 7+1 capacity, rails for optics, threaded barrels on select models, and a range of stocks from fixed versions to pistol grip variants. This machine was built for long strings of fire and heavy-duty use. The sensation on the range is unmistakable. The recoil impulse is short, sharp, and crisp. It rewards a proper fighting stance and aggressive target tracking. The M4 returns to the target predictably and handles sustained bursts with absolute ease. It is one of those rare weapons that feels like it wants to be shot accurately. The balance and ergonomics favor fast, repeatable impacts even when your adrenaline is dumping. If combat-proven reliability is the only metric that matters, the M4 stands alone at the summit. United States military units and serious operators chose this platform for reasons that only become apparent over time: durability, tolerance for neglect, and a consistent cyclic rate in adverse conditions. It is not the lightest, and it is certainly not the cheapest. But this is the weapon you choose when maintenance windows are short and mission success is the only option. Practice your reloads at low speed and run long strings of fire with the full power defensive loads you plan to trust. The ARGO system is forgiving, but you still want confirmed patterns at realistic combat distances. A basic field kit with a spare bolt and a couple of tools simplifies troubleshooting if something unusual happens downrange. These 7 shotguns are not fashion statements. They are life-saving tools. Some are old-school workhorses that forgive your mistakes and digest obscure ammunition. Others are modern platforms built around speed and reload capacity, and a couple are niche solutions for very specific tactical problems you must choose based on your mission. Duty and forced entry require pump actions and proven semi-automatics. Dynamic teams and shooters trained on the AR-15 will love the magazine-fed chassis systems. Vehicle work or tight spaces might justify the oddities like the KSG. Whatever you choose, use the exact loads you plan to rely on. Pattern check your weapon at realistic distances and build muscle memory for the unique malfunctions and reloads of that specific platform. The equipment does not correct bad habits. Only training does that. Make sure you hit the like button, subscribe, and leave a comment below telling me which shotgun you would grab when the alarm goes off. Stay sharp.